Hey, to everyone watching, quick disclaimer, absolutely none of the information is mine. I pulled everything I'm going to talk about from resources online. You can find them in the description below. For any cooking commentary, I hope to have the captions up soon. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy. Georgy Dobrovolsky was the mission commander for the Soyuz 11, a Russian spacecraft that was set to dock at the world's first ever space station. The space station was called the Salyut, also Russian. I mean, the space race and all that jazz was going on, so of course there had to be some amped competition. Anyways, Salyut was supposed to orbit near Earth, and at first it would serve primarily to service the military. After the idea developed, however, prominent opportunities for research and development grew. And maybe some human experiments, but that wasn't really extrapolated on too terribly much. Later on, though, the Salyut helped shape the idea for the Mir space station. The Salyut was launched on April 19th, 1971, and it spanned a total of 43 feet, weighing in at 40,620 pounds. 6.4% of the total weight being contributed to scientific equipment and observation instruments. Dobrovolsky, alongside Viktor Patsayev, the design engineer, and Volkov Vladislav Nikolaevich, the flight engineer, were the only 3 cosmonauts on board. As one of the initial crew was believed to have contracted tuberculosis, these guys were all part of the 3rd reserve crew. Prior to their departure, Nikolaevich was the only one who had any spaceflight experience before this mission. He was part of the Cosmonaut Corps since 1966, and he was declared the 42nd world astronaut. In 1968, he was officially trained for the reserve crew for the Soyuz mission, wherein the first ever docking program in space would be attempted. He also worked on the Soyuz 6, 7, and 8. The 3 crafts were to fly together in a group, and he went with the initial crew on the Soyuz 7 for a bit over 4 days. From his, quote, successful implementation of group flight, he was awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union by the decree of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the USSR on 10/22/69. All of these crafts were supposed to dock, but the Soyuz 7 never docked because of an electrical problem. Nikolaevich was also trained for the Soyuz 10, which was supposed to have left in April of 1971, but that craft never docked because of docking issues. After that, though, there wasn't enough time to train anyone to fix it, and even when the next round of docking for the number 31 vehicle was given the okay, there wasn't time to run any validation tests for it. On top of this, someone reported that the Salyut itself had, quote, failed interior vans, and something was rigged with the life support system there. The failed docking caused even more issues for the station too, but from my understanding, the Soyuz 11 was still given the all-clear. Either way, the trio departed on June 6th, 1971. It was the first official departure to Salyut. This docking proved successful. However, they did have to wait until the station's vent started properly working before they could enter. Upon arrival and entrance, there seemed to be a weird smell inside. The crew communicator told them to turn on the air generators, and lo and behold, the fans were still broken. Patsayev and Nikolaevich fixed them really quick, and they decided to sleep on the Soyuz until the next day. I mean, they were in space. Anyway, 3 weeks went by pretty fast for them. Experiments and exercise took up a lot of time, and they were able to grow some cute little plants. Oh, and Patsayev was the first person to ever use a telescope while in space. How cool is that? They also took their own blood samples. It was kind of weird, but I suppose it was good for research, because it helped develop the still-used Chibis apparatus, or the Chibis suit, which pretty much just keeps all the liquids in your body from floating up to your head when you're in space. While in space, they filmed themselves for a TV program in Russia called Cosmovision. They also voted, and they even celebrated a birthday. But by June 28th, after having spent over 23 days in space, There was a small fire that broke out on the Salyut, so they decided to head home early. What they failed to notice upon their June 30th departure was that the panel light came on. This light told them when the hatch wasn't closed the right way. Either they thought it was fixed, they ignored it, or they didn't know it was there, but the danger was already present before they even left the space station. As the Soyuz 11 spacecraft was around 30 minutes away from landing, and right after the main 3 compartments of the craft separated in midair, the jolt from that separation opened a pressure valve that was not supposed to open until the parachute activated. The parachute was only supposed to activate until the passengers were safely inside the Earth's atmosphere. But when the craft separated, they were technically still in space, which means that the open valve caused all the air inside the craft to escape, since it wasn't in the atmosphere. And it was approximated that the cosmonaut's death took less than 2 minutes, thanks to suffocation by hypoxia. The retrieval team were the ones to discover their bodies inside the then-landed Soyuz 11. It was reported that excavation was difficult because of the way that it had landed, and despite any and all attempts at resuscitation, there was no way to bring them back. They were the first and only people to have been officially reported to die while in the confines of space, over 100 kilometers away from the surface of the Earth. Funeral arrangements afterwards led to each of the 3 men holding an honorable place as heroes of the Soviet Union on the Kremlin wall. Craters on the Moon and hills on Pluto each share their memorial as well. The development of pressure suits, now to be mandatory for all spaceflight passengers during launch and landing, stemmed from the tragedy. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I hope you learned a little something about cooking and cosmonauts during the video. Be sure to check out the links below, and I sincerely hope you have a good one.